Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. It's the Finch Show, and I am James Finch. My guest on this episode is Matt Gonzalez, who goes by Matt Made on Instagram. They've done some really cool things, helped me out personally with some issues that I'm had. So it was really great to get to talk to them. Without further ado, here's Matt. We were talking just before we started recording that you work at Hogwarts,
I do.
and and I'm just gonna let you go ahead and just explain what that is because I am
Okay.
definitely interested.
Yeah, when people are always like when the conversation comes up, it's just, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a teacher, da da da. Or someone else, I work at X, Y, and Z store. I work at Hogwarts. And it's so odd and it always catches attention and I love it so much. But I work for Universal Studios, Hollywood, and I'm a ride operator and I work on the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey ride. And my office, if you will, is a 200-foot castle that we all know and love called Hogwarts.
How did that
And
start?
so I actually been working for the company for 4 years now. And before Universal, I worked at Knott's Berry Farm, which is another really big local theme park. And at Knott's Berry Farm, I was scare acting for Not Scary Farm. So, blood, gore, costumes, spooky, fog and spider webs, the whole 9 yards. And when the season ended, I liked theme parks and I liked working for theme parks, so I stayed and I worked on rides at Knott's Berry Farm. So I worked there for about a year and a half at Camp Snoopy, and then that's like the little kid rides, and a bunch of kids running around, and that's fine and all, but I felt like I wanted to step up from there, and I didn't. I was like keeping my options open. I wanted to see what else was out there, and I had zero idea that the Wizarding Worlds of Harry Potter even existed at Universal. Like zero clue. And I, like most people, like grew up reading and watching the books of Harry Potter. I'm like, dude, that'd be so sick. That'd be so sick. So I applied for just general like ride operator for Universal Studios. Like I was hoping that I would get picked to be working on this ride because it's the biggest attraction in the park. It costs the most amount of money, the most attention grabbing attraction in the theme park. I went into the interview, and this is literally how my interview went. I sat down, they were like, oh wow, you have experience. What ride do you want to work on? Yeah. And I was like in a heartbeat, I was like, Forbidden Journey, 100%. And here we are 4 years later, still a Hogwarts student.
Here you are. The I guess because I'm trying to think what kind of training goes into that. Like I imagine part of it's got to be like the whole operating the ride thing, but then is there I don't know, are you expected to be fluent in Harry Potter prior to, or if not, at least get caught up very quickly?
Yes, actually. So when you get hired from the company, you go through like orientation and like a lot of I mean Starbucks, when I worked for Starbucks also did this where they would like kind of teach you like the history of the company and um like you would learn about the background of where it came from and where it's at now, and a lot of companies do that. So you do that when you get hired for Universal, but if you get hired in the Wizarding World, also you do this thing called brand training.
Hmm.
So it's a specific course, like specific training that you have to do, like, all about Harry Potter, everything Harry Potter related. Your whole day of training is literally like doing trivia, scavenger hunts. You watch clips from the movie and like basically like how you said, get caught up, or like see what you already know about the Wizarding World, because it's not this land. The Wizarding World isn't like other places. It's selling a specific experience. And they want our team members to be as involved with this IP and with this like brand as possible to immerse the people who come visit us. So, knowing a lot about it like is very important to sell the experience.
Mm-hmm. And what do you have? Is it a thing? Because I'm like I have this is something that I have like zero experience or background in, so that's why I'm having to like ask these in very broad fashion. Now, when you're interacting with guests, do you have like a part you have to play on top of it, or is it just kind of smile and okay, get on the ride kind of thing?
Kind of both, to be
Okay.
honest. So part of the like one of the big like no-nos is like you can't cross in with the main, like, how to explain it, like you can't change the continuity of the actual stories that was written in the movies. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, I'm like best friends with like Harry Potter, like he's my homie. Because like obviously if you're best friends, you're gonna spend a lot of time with someone, and you obviously are not in the movies, so you're not, you know so you're kind of like a background character,
Mm.
someone who went to Hogwarts at some point. So you are a student and you have to sell that experience that you are a student to these people. But at the same time, not everyone some people don't want to talk to you. They just want to go on the ride and have their like do their own day. So they're, you know, peace out, have a good time kind of thing. So you kind of have to play the part without changing the main story, but still enhancing it.
Mm-hmm. So basically be part of the story, but don't overpower it. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's a, now how on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a Harry Potter fan were you prior to getting the gig?
Probably like a 9
Oh, okay. So this was
before
like
the get.
this
Yeah.
is like right up your alley.
And then like no, exactly, yeah, like I said, I grew up reading the books and watching the movies and the whole thing. And um getting, because like well, I mean, me and then people who are slightly older than me grew up with this. And so there's a lot more younger people who kind of are just experiencing it for the first time. And now
Mm.
I get to sell the same experience and the same excitement I had to these younger people, as well as the people who enjoyed it at the same time or longer than I have, and like make their enjoyment even like, further.
Mm-hmm. That is really cool. God, it'd be so interesting to see. 'Cause it's occurring to me that I've got I'm one of those like weird outliers. I've never read a book, I've never seen a movie. And I'm not saying anything bad against it. My wife, on the other hand, is like a Harry Potter freak. So like she would, and I've got tons of family member who do, and I have my sister and her kids were actually there, I think, just last summer. So that would have been interesting if you came across them, and what a small world it is that we live in. Um, well, outside of that, outside of Harry Potter, because obviously from looking at your Instagram and some of the stuff you've created and some of the stuff that you've done,
Hmm.
outside of Harry Potter, what other interest do you have in the sci-fi fantasy world?
Okay, this is like my favorite thing. So, like I mentioned, I started scare acting at Knott's Berry Farm, and I have gone on to do scare acting at Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights, which is actually what I'm wearing now. It's a Halloween Horror Night shirt.
Ah,
But
okay.
every year I try to do that. I try to get to, because not every, it's very selective, like very, very selective on who they choose to be their actors. Um, and so I'm very involved with the horror community and everything spooky. Like that's like my entire personality outside of 3D printing and like nerdy stuff. It's everything spooky, everything scary and gore, and I love it. Love it all. So yeah, I
Favorite
get to.
get
Sorry, go ahead.
to no, I'm sorry. What you say that you love that. What's your favorite scary movie? Like if you had to pick one, like right now, what is it?
Um, Probably Trick or Treat.
Okay, I don't think I've seen that one. Is
Yeah,
it more on
it
the gory side or more on the tension side?
a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's very okay because like yes, like I said, I love gore and blood and all that nasty stuff, but also at the same time, there's definitely times where like in different movies that overdo it and like just kind of ruin it, and it's like, well, whatever. But you can use gore to further the story,
Mm-hmm.
and Trick or Treat like is very gory, but also it doesn't do it in poor taste.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like an anthology story where there's like four different stories going all at once, and at the end it kind of twists them together.
Mm.
I
Okay.
gotta want to spoil the movie because I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's on my list now for sure. The yeah, I think you're right. When it comes to the gore aspect in horror movies, and I'm of the generation where I grew up with the original like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street movies, like seeing them in theaters and on VHS tape because that's the amount of gray hair I have. Um, but the thing about those is, and I always felt like a good horror movie is that it'll be interesting to see if you agree. I love the gore aspect because the gore aspect, if done correctly, raises the tension of this is what could happen to the character you care about or another
Right.
character you care about. I'm like going out on a limb here. Are you a Stranger Things fan?
Yes.
My guy.
Um, I have I'm a okay, it's very complicated. Like I said, I Universal, we so in 28 what year was that? Yeah, 2018 and 2019, we actually had a Stranger Thing maze.
Hmm.
And in my opinion, I did not like the maze at all. It
Really?
was not, yeah, no. It was not good. I did not like the maze. It was just kind of like to drive them like the merch and
Okay.
the hype because like all the young teens love it, and like it's a good story and a good show to watch and enjoy. But the maze wasn't good, so it kind of turned me off to it, and I kind of didn't really enjoy Stranger Things because like I was just so like oversaturated with Stranger Things at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Stranger Things, they got announced Stranger Things 4, and then the hype was building and building, and like it was like huge now, and then it actually came out, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch it, whatever.
that was
Um,
a that's crazy. That's funny you said. That was like I think in a way that was sort of the exact same way that I was with Harry Potter. The content of the books and movie aside, I just felt like without having seen or read any of it, it was just societally and culturally speaking being crammed down my throat to the point where I'm just like, and it's weird. Like, I don't know if you have this with happen with anything else, but it's like bizarre that like psychologically, like you can get turned off to stuff like that. And sometimes I even hear people say that stuff about the Marvel movies. Like they feel like the MCU has been crammed down their throat so much that they just are just uninterested in watching it. Never mind the fact the movies are good, like if you didn't have
yeah.
all that other outside pressure coming in. Excuse me. The point I was getting to is that for anybody out there, if you watch like Stranger Things 4, when it comes to the gore aspect, like early on in the season, you see like a couple people who get like horribly jacked up by this thing that they're dealing with. And knowing that like one of the member of like the beloved crew is like marked for this in the future, like seeing that gore earlier on is what raises the tension for it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly terrified this is going to happen to somebody you actually give a crap about. I mean, not that you didn't feel bad for the other teenagers that happened, but no, it can't happen to that person. No, that'd be horrible. Um, okay, Trick or Treat. That's on my list of things to watch. So as we move over to what it is that people love to hear about on this podcast, we obviously have to get into the 3D printing side of things.
Yep.
Where did you start with that?
So a, a lot of people, from my understanding, got into it during like the main lockdown of the pandemic. And I, like a lot of people, have stumbled across Trinkly Built on YouTube. And so like I live like 30 minutes away from Disneyland. And they have the Star Wars Black Series helmets in Tomorrowland. And I was like, dude, I want a Stormtrooper helmet. That would be so cool to have. Oh, they have a Boba Fett helmet. That's so cool. And I'm like, $100 at least for these helmets. I'm like, I don't know about that. So I was looking in ways to like make something like that myself, because like, what else do I have to do with my time? I watch YouTube anyways. So I, like I said, I somehow stumbled across 3D printing, and then there's this one guy who has like insane Iron Man stuff, and I'm like, well, the concepts behind it don't necessarily need to apply to Iron Man. Like it can be kind of anything, and that's what's kind of cool, because now not only can I make Star Wars stuff, I can make Iron Man stuff, I can make, DC stuff, I can, all the nerdy stuff that I'm also really interested in. And so I pulled the trigger. I got my first 3D printer and, followed along with Frank, and I stumbled across more YouTubers and more creators and really talented people who kind of like taught me like by proxy on YouTube. And it was more of a casual thing. And then I saw that like, oh damn, people, I actually can make this happen and, make this like more than just like a hobby. Like it can be half hobby, half business, half social media kind of thing. And I wanted to commit to it and really wanted to try it. So I started posting more often on Instagram, and dabbled in TikTok a little bit, because it's really easy to blow up on TikTok. Apparently, I haven't had much luck with that.
Me neither.
But doesn't matter. I'm not doing it for the fame or whatever. Like, I really enjoy making this kind of stuff, and I also kind of struggle with like learning things and translating something that I see into my brain, and then from into my brain into execution. Like I don't know if it's like a learning disability, but like if it, like, I know it's so cheesy and corny, but like literally if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing that experience online made it possible for me. And then so now I'm trying to do the same thing for anyone else who might want to be interested in something like this.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I don't know about you, but I sort of feel like I'm like one of those people who like gets perpetually frustrated. Like, for example, if I'll be watching like one of Frankly Built's videos or like another video on YouTube of how somebody does it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how you do it. And then if I go and do it and it doesn't work exactly right the first time, I get so frustrated. Like I get so mad. I'm just like, and then I just want to give up, And I think a lot of people go through that, but I think it's just a matter of persistence. Even that, as somebody who's been lucky enough to talk to Frank on a couple of occasions, he'll flat out tell you he didn't get it right the first time. A lot of what he's doing is trial and error that got him to the point where, yeah, that's what was the first printer you got?
Actually, it was an Ender 3 Pro, and I quickly realized like, oh shoot, there's other printers out there too, and there's bigger printers out there too. So I had the Ender 3. I printed my first helmet in like a bajillion pieces, because I have a big head and nothing fits on that printer. I mean, a lot of stuff fits on that printer, but like when you have a big head and you don't know when you're starting out, you learn things along the way. But I got a modification kit and it made it bigger, and that was cool. And that taught me how to disassemble and learn the printer inside out to like modify it into something that it's not supposed to be. So I fully understand it at that point. Understand, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it quickly spiraled out of control from there.
It always does. It's a rabbit hole. It's a
Yeah.
rabbit hole. What all you got now?
So I have that Ender 3 Pro still. Still modified, but not as heavily modified. I kind of dialed it back and made it. Each of my printers kind of have a different niche for what I want them to do. So like my Ender 3 Pro still has like the stock build size, but it's 500 millimeters tall.
Oh, okay.
So it's freakishly tall. And I printed my Iron Man like shins and thighs all in one piece. I printed other like tall, skinny stuff all in one piece. Like I did a sword kind of all in one, like really slow, obviously, because of the wobble, but all in one piece. And then I also have a CR10S Pro V2. And that's kind of like my big hunky boy, which is right there somewhere. So wider printers. I did most of my Iron Man chest piece done. Helmets, because like I said, I have a big head, so I kind of have to scale them accordingly. I have a Ender 3 Max. And I only bought that. I was going to buy a second Pro V2, but the Ender 3 Max is basically the same build size. But on the Black Friday sales, it was like $200.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
Gotta snag it.
For sure. Do you have your printers named?
Kind of. So my tall Ender 3 Pro is tall skinny boy. My Pro 2 has two names, and I don't know if I can say one of them because it's slightly inappropriate.
Hey, it's an 18+ channel. Knock yourself out.
Okay. So for a while, I broke something on it, and I had no idea that I broke it. So I named it Penis. Because it just did not want to work. I got so mad. So I got it like a "Hi, my name is" sticker, and I wrote Penis on it, and I just stuck it to the side of the printer.
That's a good one.
And then I realized that it was completely my fault, and I didn't know. So I fixed it, and it's been a solid, reliable, extremely nice printer ever since then. And so ever since then, I just named it Clifford or Big Red.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then I have a Ender 2 Pro, so it's like a very tiny. And then that one's named. It's just small boy, tall, skinny boy, small boy. Not very creative, but it's distinguishing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ender 3 Max, I named Jonathan after, Mjolnir.
Oh, okay. All right. The are you a fan of The Office at all?
No.
That's okay. This
I mean, it's not that I'm not a fan of it. I just haven't watched it to be a fan of it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. The well, for people out there who are listening who do know The Office, because the three main printers that I use are all named after characters from The Office, and I've got stickers of those characters on there. My SVO1 is named Pam because it's reliable. It just does what it's supposed to do and doesn't give me a whole lot of fuss. My SVO3 is Dwight. It's a little bit more particular. It's a little bit more fussy. I got to fidget with it a lot more. And then my CR10 Max is Jim, because Jim's nickname on the show is Big Tuna. And that just seemed to fit. You know what I mean? That's always an interesting question, and I like to ask people who have printers whether they name them or not. And I always get one or two responses. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, I've got names for them. And then the other response is, what? Why would I name a printer? I suppose it's like people who name their cars. Some people name their cars and some people don't. What was the first thing you ever built?
See, it's really hard to remember because I tried printing something and I gave up on it, and like I just kind of put it in a box. And then I started printing something else, finished it, and then went back to that first thing and then finished it. But it was much better than, so it's kind of complicated. So that first thing that I started and I gave up on was a Scout Trooper helmet. And I printed the faceplate. I printed that weird visor that it has. And then I gave up. Put it away in a box. I forgot about it for like a month. And then this was around the time that Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out on Disney Plus.
Yes.
So then I did the Flag Smasher mask. And it came out really nice. I sanded it and painted it and put the red handprint on it, and it looked so good. And I was like, okay, all right. So then I went back to the Scout Trooper, printed the rest of the dome and all the little bits and bobs, and finished it, and it looks really good. And I'm really proud of it for it being my first finished thing. Like my first big finished thing, because Flag Smasher is just like a hockey mask almost. So,
yeah, they're what process do you go through for kind of post-production on your prints?
So I tried a lot of different things, and some of it worked to varying success and some of it didn't. And I know some people have used these methods and have better success than me, and I guess a lot of people have their own sort of methods, and that's totally cool. But where I'm at now is kind of sort of start with 80, take it all the way down as much as I can, make it look as good as I can. And I suffer from super, super bad impatience. Let me tell you, it's the worst. So I'll take it down with 80, where I can't look as pretty as I can, or until I feel frustrated enough where I want to move on to the next step, because I feel like I will start to hate what I'm working on if I don't make progress. And if I'm just sanding, I'm done. I'm not gonna. I don't care. So 80, and then I'll do like a 120. Of course, and then all I use in between, besides sandpaper, is the Duplicolor filler, the filler primer. And that I like that the most out of any of the filler primers that I've tried. I don't know. It looks the nicest. It sands the nicest. It dries the quickest for me personally in California, because I know humidity and weather plays a big factor into that too. So, and then once I'm happy at around 120, then I just spend an hour wet sanding it with 220 and call it a day. and paint it, because like I said, I'm so impatient and I want to crank things out. I want to be look, it's not perfect, and neither am I, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I love everything about the finished product. I love everything surrounding that, except for that giant pain in the ass part of sanding. I am not shy about it. I hate sanding. I cannot stand it. And I know exactly what you mean. There's nothing more frustrating than when it's I'll have something, I'll start off at an 80, and I'll go to a 120, and I'll go to a 220, and I've got the filler primer on, and I think it's looking really good. And then I hold it in light, and I can still see layer lines on one part of it. And I'm like, damn it. And then I go outside and I start sanding it even more. And I'm exactly where you are. I get impatient. I'm like, I need some dopamine hits here, man. This stuff has got to start looking better.
Exactly.
So I'm satisfied. That's exactly where I get with it. And I know what you mean. I've got a shelf over here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unfinished helmets on a shelf over here to my side, that are all in various stages, because inevitably I get frustrated. And it doesn't help the fact that somebody like Vec or Walsh or somebody will put out a new model, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that one right now.
I feel it. One of my buddies, Yosh Studios, Mitch and the team, they constantly pump out these crazy models.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're almost like, they're up there with like Walsh and Beck, and like on, how detailed and how good they look, and honestly, like how much I enjoy them. So I always send him DMs like, bro, you need to slow down. I can't keep up with how much you're releasing. And so huge shout out to him, because a lot of my models, like a lot of the stuff that I have printed and made on my page have come from Mitch and the Yosh team.
Mm-hmm.
So I super great, and super great guy, and everything like that. Yeah, it's for me, it's about the dopamine. And from my formative years of watching Mythbusters and Adam Savage, the one thing I've learned is like, hide your crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of get away with leaving the backside of something, something a little more roughed up, if it's just for pictures. In my opinion, I'll leave it not too finished up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like, most of my stuff sits on a shelf anyways, or if it's going to be taken like 2 pictures of, and it's going to sit on a shelf for me to look at, and I'm not going to look at the back of the head.
Mm-hmm. Does that ever bother you though?
No.
I'm envious. I'm so envious of you.
On my page, I posted a Miles Morales, like an Iron Spider Miles Morales build, and the back of the head is not so pretty, but you know what? You're never gonna see it, and it sits in a display shelf, and unless I move it, I'm never gonna see it either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that, because, like I said, yes, I want it to look good, and I want to enjoy making these things, but also at the same time, might as well save the elbow grease. But if it's like a full-on cosplay, like I'm gonna take it out and show people, of course I'm gonna do the whole 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just me personally.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people get upset about it, because I've been told things before about it, and like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, it's all about what you want to do. 100%. Yeah. I say that like I'm like different in that aspect, but that doesn't make one right and one wrong, like at all. Like if that's your comfort level. I'm one of those like people who, unfortunately, like genetically speaking, I like inherited a certain level of OCD, and I like do that kind of thing where like, I've done something like that, and because I did a scout trooper helmet and it looked really great. One part of the underside was like a little rough, and it sat on my shelf for like 2 months, and every one of my friends who came over was like, "Oh man, that thing looks awesome." In my head, I'm like, except for that one part. And it drove me nuts for a couple months. Eventually I took it outside and sanded it and repainted that whole side of it, because it was just bothering me. Like I say, that's why I'm envious of you, because it doesn't bother you. Like I wish it didn't bother me. That'd be so much more peace of mind. And it's the bizarrest thing. Like whenever I'll get a new model that I'm really excited about, and I'm sitting there looking at it in Cura, and I'm so excited, and it starts printing, and I'm so excited. And whether it's a 1-day print or a 4-day print or whatever, I get excited, like more and more anticipation building that how great this thing is going to look. And then it comes off the printer, and when I'm into about like the second day, depending upon my schedule, not like of sanding, and I don't mean like I sanded it for 2 days straight, that's like the most critical point of any build, right? Because that's the point where I could just be like, I'm done with this thing. I'm so tired of looking at it. I got something cooler on the printer anyway. I just want to move on to that one, because that's the way your brain is. Your brain wants the satisfaction of just, but you push through it, and turn out some really amazing stuff. That speaking of awesome stuff, that Samurai Iron Man helmet that you did, I thought was just absolutely phenomenal. Was that another one of the Yosh models?
It is, yes, and it's another great example of things you'll never see. On the helmet, you have the face plate, and then you have the like, I don't know what to call them, horns, antlers type things, and then you have like the back shielding.
Mhm.
If you notice in all the pictures, you'll never see the left side of the helmet. That's for a reason. It's because it's not painted.
Oh, not even just it's a little rough. It's just not painted.
I mean, it's like red,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, like there's like gold detailing, on the side, and for the side that's in the picture, I painted it gold and made it look nice and that kind of stuff. But the other side is not painted, and it's and like I said, also did that on purpose, kind of because the way it sits in my on my shelf on my display, it's in the corner of the room just because it's kind of a large print and a large helmet. So
Mhm.
you only see the front and the 3/4 view of it. So like, but I'm gonna go back and finish it eventually.
Mhm.
Just because, like you said, it is probably one of the coolest things I've made, and I love that thing so much. Um, it's so unique and so different, and it stands out. It has a presence, and I was taking pictures of it in my parents' front lawn because they have a pretty lawn, a pretty front yard. And my mom walks on. She goes, "Is that Iron Man?" I'm like, yes, it is. So like to distinguishly know that it's Iron Man, but also with a little something something, like it it just looks so good, and I love it so much.
Mhm. Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Let's say, is that thing like, does it like the faceplate? Does any of that come off to like make it wearable, or is it just like a solid shell kind of thing?
So yeah, the faceplate comes off like a traditional Iron
Okay.
Man. And the jaw, it so it has the dome, and it comes down like without the faceplate, it comes down to about your forehead and like a semicircle. Um, and like I said, the faceplate kind of like clips on, like it kind of like a battery, like it goes in like that. It has magnet holes. I just didn't use them because it sits on my shelf and I never take the faceplate off,
Mhm.
but I can. And then that like the back shielding has a like a peg hole and it kind of just slots into place and it holds itself in place.
Okay. Yeah, it's a phenomenal looking design, and I absolutely love the way it looked on your Instagram. The outside of that, what have you got? What have you got kicking around upstairs for dream builds you'd love to do someday?
Dream builds or like what's coming soon?
Either one. We'll start with
Okay.
what's coming soon. Well, yeah, let's go there first.
So okay, so like I said, I'm in the middle of a move, so I'm kind of taking things slow at the moment, just because I'm focusing on moving my entire life
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. And but as soon as I'm done moving, I'm doing Yosha's Poison Wolverine,
Mm.
and that thing looks insane. It looks spooky, and like I said, I'm all things spooky. So like anything remotely spooky, like I'm in. So that's being done as soon as I move in. Right now, so at the end of this month, there's a horror convention called Midsummer Scream, and my girlfriend and I are going dressed up as some of the killer clowns from outer space, with a
Oh,
twist.
classic.
It's more like like a bound, or like how there's Disney bounding. So it's not like
Mm-hmm.
we're dressing up like with the masks and the clown costumes. So we're doing like outfits inspired from them.
Okay.
And so she's dressing up as Shorty, and I'm just dressing up as Jumbo. And I actually don't know where it's at. Um, I printed the cotton candy gun,
Mm.
um, and I'm currently printing the popcorn bazooka.
Oh,
So
nice.
so we can walk around the convention and look all with the costumes that we're making and have like a little prop to go with it. So love that movie so much, and it's so cheesy and corny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, cotton candy gun is basically done. I actually don't know where it's at. um the popcorn bazooka is huge. Hold on,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
grab it. It's in pieces because, like I said, I'm still working on it. But here's the main like body of the bazooka.
Whoa. That is cool. Wow. Was that a model that you
Yeah, I
found
just found it on
online?
Thingiverse.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, I found it on Thingiverse. I modified it a little bit because it's not quite printer friendly. Like I don't know why it's on Thingiverse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 3D model and I can put it into Kira, but the way supports are and how 3D printing kind of works, it wasn't really friendly. So I had to modify it, cut the files up in certain ways, and it's being printed in like 20 pieces.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this it's like bigger than my head.
Yes.
And it's just the main body. There's like another part that goes like here, and then the barrel's gonna stick out this far.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's hopefully I can finish it in time because the convention's at the end of the month.
Yeah, con crunching.
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately in that position where I was con crunching for C2E2 in Chicago. It's coming up the first week of August. So we're like 3 weeks away. And I literally had to get to the point where like 4 days ago where I just had to admit it's not going to happen. Like it's just straight up not going to happen because I've got this big like workspace in my basement, which is like where I do everything. It's where all my printers are. It's where all that is. And while I was moving stuff around down there, because not only is it where I do all my 3D printing, there's a space down there that we were just using for storage that I plan on clearing out and actually building my new podcast studio in to have more room and that kind of stuff. Upon doing that, I realized there was a gigantic crack in our foundation. And I'm like, oh no. So I had to contact a company and they're coming and they've got to do all this stuff. So right now it sucks. Like all my 3D printers, all that down there, all have like painting tarp over top of them just to keep all kinds of dust and stuff getting on it, which stinks, but it is what it is. It drives me nuts that they're just sitting there not running because pretty much since I've gotten into 3D printing, and I got into 3D printing, I mean, I'm not going to tell the story. I got into it, but not really. It was like back in like January that I got into it hardcore. Since then, they've run like nonstop, and now they're not running, and it's actually kind of sad. I have to ask though that main body that you did there, what infill percentage is that
at? 1.
Oh, really? So it's just like almost just like a shell kind of thing, huh?
Yep, and it's still pretty sturdy, and I'm surprised that I'm not breaking it because it's basically hollow.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I would have done it completely hollow, but I printed it like this. And I wanted something the top layers to sit on. Other than that, it's hollow.
Right. Yeah, I could imagine, especially if you're making something that big. If you did that thing at like 10% or like God say 20%, your back would be sore 5 minutes into into being there. That would just be like, wow. Okay. All right. So that aside, what dream builds do you got in your head?
Well, I'm currently working on an Iron Man suit, but I already have another like want that I want to do like at some point. So the Obi-Wan show just finished and they had the Purge Troopers, the new ones, and those look so good. And I would love to do one of those new Purge Troopers at some point. I just don't think after knowing what I know now about doing this Iron Man suit, I think I'm gonna wait on to do anything that big for a little while.
It's a hell of an undertaking. Like I thought that early on in the 3D printer, we're like, oh, that's cool. I'm just gonna do a Mark 85. And it's like once you start printing stuff and like parts begin to pile up, you're like, oh my God, this is like trying to eat Mount Everest. Like, it blows my way. Some of those people like Frank and Kiera who will just like crank a suit out in a couple months and it looks talking to them, they talk about how frustrating it is and the things that they go through. But from looking at their social media, you wouldn't think that. Like, oh, I'm going to make this suit. And all of a sudden, like, bam, here's this like beautiful looking suit. It's, taking the time to stop and admire all the hard work that went into that. Do you follow Galactic Armory at all?
Actually, yes, I actually have an affiliate link with Galactic Armory.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I said, I did a lot of Star Wars stuff. So yeah, I got to talk to him a few times, and I was one of I believe it's 100 people that got chosen as an affiliate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been blown away following him because he's the one who's working on that life-size Master Chief that he's 3D printing. And that's
no thanks.
That's one of my dream build. But when he talked about how it took him like 7 printers in 6 months just to print all the pieces for it, I'm like, oh my God. So if I only have 3 printers, basically that would take up all 3 of my printers for over a year. And I don't know if I have that patience. I just have to like talk to my wife, like, hey, listen, I need to buy 7 more printers so they can be doing this on the side while I'm doing the other stuff I want to do.
So like I know we said dream builds, but like it kind of already happened. I Brittany, Captain Britt on Instagram. She contacted me, and I got to do her Mighty Thor armor.
Yes.
Which was a huge honor because like she's pretty close friends with like Frank and Kiara and all of them, and I mean, I literally found out that we live like pretty close to each other. But I don't know, it just kind of blew me away that I got to do something that someone really wanted and make them, make it for them and have them enjoy it. And like such a huge challenge too, because I've never worked on someone else's like body. Like, I don't know, I wanted to do it right. You know what I'm saying? Because like with myself, I can sit there for like 3 hours measuring just my arm if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But, with a time crunch and, wanting to do a good job. And it was a huge, like, I didn't know it at the time, but it was a huge honor and a huge dream of mine to do that for someone. And it was so much fun building that armor, and it's not done yet either. She wanted to take it to the premiere for the movie, so we kind of had to pick and choose what parts got done and stuff like that. So it's just going to get better from here.
For sure.
I loved working with her, and she's so great.
I'm
super grateful.
Yeah, she showed that when she was on this podcast, she showed off that helmet. She was like, oh, she was so excited. And that was such a funny episode because I don't know if you know the story or not. We recorded that episode. And then we were talking on the phone after we got done recording the podcast, and my Zoom and my Surface Pro like just went belly up and didn't save any of it, like at all, like just gone, like off to the nether. So as we're talking on the phone, I said to her, I said, man, I first of all, it's embarrassing, I'm like, hey, is there another time that, you'd want to re-record this? And she was like, I don't have anything going on right now. Let's do it. So we were like re-recording the podcast, and we were attempting to like do the best we could to remember what we did the first time. So I actually got to, the real only reason I bring this up is I got to have like your helmet showcased to me twice because she did it the first time when we recorded, and then when we had to go through and re-record it, she did it again. And I remember like talking to her even on the side. She was so excited to have that helmet. So hats off, because that looked really amazing. That was awesome.
And so part of the thing that was like really nerve-wracking to me was getting scaling right. And I nailed it. And like, I don't like to talk myself up. I don't like to, brag or whatever, but like that thing fits her perfectly. And what is done for her armor, she looks so good in it. She looks so great.
Yeah, it does. And seeing the picture of her wearing it at the premiere, that thing was like spot on. And that's like scaling is one of the things that, I mean, other than sanding, drives me absolutely insane. Like I don't have any patience for it. Like I just have this really bad tendency of being like, I'm just going to print it 100% and see what happens, which is idiotic because you're going to spend 3 days printing something you could just like spend some time actually measuring yourself, idiot. I'm terrible with that. I'm terrible with that with helmets. I'll always like go into like mesh mixer and take a helmet and I'll like slice like a tiara and just print that. And that's how I like idiotically do my scaling. But so far, fortunately, one of the things that I figured out since I've gotten to 3D printing is I've got a pretty average male head, apparently, because 100% works about like spot on with just about everything. Um, do you have, you don't do like, because I've seen some people where they've got like the scanners where you can like scan body parts and stuff like that. And I have a couple people tell me I just need to get one. And I'm like, yeah, but they're like a couple $100. And I'm like, do I really need it? You know what I mean?
I don't have any like special sort of scanner. I mean, like I have like a newer iPhone. So like when I was making Brittany's stuff, I actually took a scan of her through my phone. But the way that the app works, it like made the model like this big. Like not even joking, it was probably like an inch tall of her just like
A little Brit.
yeah. And I was like, okay, so like we spent all this time scanning you and it's kind of unusable, but it's hilarious that it's just like a tiny little like T-pose of a Brit.
That's good.
But yeah, no, I just like measure like, you know, they say measure twice, cut once. Yeah, for me it's like measure like 14 times, do like half a cut and then be like, wait a minute, and then kind of measure 3 more times.
Yeah. I know how that goes.
So yeah, I got into a point where like I kind of can figure out scaling a little bit quicker now, like on my own self. Because one of the helmets I printed like fits me like immaculate. Like I forgot which helmet it was, to be honest. But every time I make a new helmet, I throw it into the slicer, put it to the same scaling, and then whatever new helmet I'm making, see if I can fit within this, you know, within a little bit of wiggle room of the same size, and there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, whatever works. That's one of the interesting things about talking to getting to talk to so many different people who do 3D printing. And it seems like everybody kind of has like the general rules that they follow, but then everybody's got their own like little quirks or ways of going about things. And I always feel like if it works, it works. If it works for you, then it works. You know, I'm terrible at it. I'm just so insanely impatient. And I'm one of those people where I'll like, I'm the opposite. I'll measure once and then cut 3 times and then get mad and not at myself, like unrealistically angry at the printer or the model, and that doesn't make any sense. But it's something it's something I'm hoping to improve on. I'm trying to become the better Finch at this. But we're getting up against the clock here, man. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come on the show. Is there anything you want to say on the way out?
I don't know. It's just like, well, first things first, I totally like it blanked on me, but I want to give another huge shout out to one of my other buddies in this same Iron Man 3D printing space. Huge legend, like one of my newest friends, Ryro Studios on Instagram.
James.
Yes, James from Ryro Studios, one of the best people I've ever talked to, and we've become really close and talked a lot, and he's helped me grow and learn, not just in 3D printing, but like how social media works, because apparently I have no idea what an Instagram is.
Well, I'll say this. You say that he's a great guy, and all I'm going to say is that you don't know him as well as I do. He's not that great of a guy. He's a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I'm just going to leave it at that. That guy.
But yeah, huge appreciation for him. And then, like I said, going out on the way out of the door, like if you, I don't know, Stan Lee said it best. Like if you can dream it, you can do it. I don't know if that's the exact quote, that Stanley said, but a version of it stuck with me. Like, if you have an idea that you genuinely think is good, like don't let some idiot talk you down from it. Like
Mm-hmm.
actually like do it, like legit. What's stopping you? You
Mm-hmm.
want to do something? Okay, do it. Like actually what's stopping you? Like there's so many resources out there. There's so many people who can help you with what you want to do. I never like I'm nowhere near as talented. I mean, I'm a little talented. I'll give myself that. But there's so many like huge, great people out there. Frank and Kiara and Emily, and I actually got to hang out with Danny from CTK Creations. Like we hung out and like we spent like 8 hours just building printers together.
Oh yeah, that was that day he had a whole bunch of printers he wanted to put together, right?
Yeah, we built like 7 Ender 5 pluses. Like, and we just spent the whole day talking, and we went out for food. And such a great guy. Like, like I said, there's resources and there's people out there that want to help.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta. No one else is gonna want it except you.
Right.
That's basically it. That's basically it. Like if you want it, you legit can do it.
Mm-hmm. The community's there. It's a great community. And I always tell people, like, whether it's 3D printing, or it's just anything you want to get into, you're going to want to get into it. There are going to be idiots, just like you said, who are going to try and talk you out of it. The biggest idiot who's going to try and talk you out of it is yourself. That's the idiot. That's the idiot you need to put in their place. Like, just do it. You only get to live once. You only get so many times on this earth, so many years. Make it worth it. That's what I say for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you put that. I can't argue with it one bit.
And I guess if you guys find yourself at Universal Hollywood, please come up and scream at my face and say hi.
Yeah, I'll ask you. So, how long have you been best friends with Harry? Tell me all about it. Right. Well, all right, sir. Once again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and yeah, we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was the episode with Matt. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun talking to them. I'm going to get out of here, but before I do, I want to say thank you to all of you for liking, subscribing, sharing, all those things that make this thing grow. And also, I love all of you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll talk to you next time.